we're building houses on wheels. So we do every facet from building the floor to building the walls, building roofs. Then we got to cover the roofs. And so where the areas that fall protection for us comes in handy is where we start putting plywood or OSB decking on top of rafters. We're putting underlayment, and then we're putting shingles on. So we have guys that are on top of these roofs in multiple stations trying to get this completed.
Fall protection is huge for us here. We have a number of employees on the roof inside the building that work at a pretty high height. So making sure that those employees are properly secured in case they should have an incident where they fall off either the catwalk or the roof area, making sure that we have the proper track system in place and harness system in place to make sure that they don't fall could be the difference between life and death, honestly. We had in place some fall protection prior to partnering with Mazzella to come in here and put the new track system in. It was a grandfathered in cable system, which really wasn't sufficient for the height distance between where the employees were hooked up and the distance to if they fell down to a stopping level. They had a single cable that the lanyards were hooked up to, so they were not able to pass each other. They were not able to, they had to unhook and move around each other and then hook back up. It was very difficult to hook up prior to getting on the roof and staying hooked up until they got off the roof. The lanyards would get stuck on the cable as they moved back and forth along the roof. They would get hung up.
We had an OSHA inspection, which we knew was coming, and our fall protection, while it was adequate in the 90s, no longer met specification. When I saw a corporate guy come in with a contractor from North Carolina telling me he wanted me to shut my plant for a week, I said, this is not going to happen. Having been in the factory business for a long time, there are certain things you don't do. One is you don't stop the plant. You got to work when the plant's working, we generate our income that way. If you stop the line, people don't get paid. Just things don't happen. And I just, no, I know somebody. Let me make this phone call.
We have to address a lot of customers after they've been cited by OSHA and been fined, and we're there to remediate their problems and come up with a good solution at the best price. We all have the same basic interest in this group about safety and taking care of customers, because that's job one to us, is making customers safe. We also have some flexibility as a company, as we're a 24/7 service company, and I have the availability of subcontractors to go in there and work different hours and weekends and stuff like that, so we don't disrupt their flow of production, because they've got to make money and stay viable. So it's very important with everything we do, whether it be bridge cranes, hoist, fall protection within the Mazzella Group. We've learned to work around customers and keep them operational as possible.
So they came in and evaluated what we had, looked at our building structure, made sure that we reinforced any areas that were not going to be stable or sturdy enough to hold the track system, sent their engineers in to thoroughly make sure that the track system was going to be high enough. Keep in mind, we're building homes indoors. So, we have to have enough space to be able to freely move the homes through our production line area. So they came in, made sure that that was going to be covered, but that there was still going to be the proper swing distance and fall distance and anything like that. So, God forbid an employee actually did fall, the system would cover them, would lock in place and cover them without them getting injured.
Mazzella put in a track system with a good roller in it, very, very effortless. It was a truss type system. We hung off of steel that we put up, that David put up in the ceiling, paralleled our bridge cranes, so our guys could work with the bridge crane apparatus, because we have carriers for holding shingles and decking. It rolls very nice. That's one of the big questions we had, is what kind of resistance to a guy if he's clipped up to his back. So when he moves, is it going to stand him up? Is it going to pull him back? And like I said, these things are effortless. Getting people to be safe is tough sometimes. The old cable and pulley system we had was, you get a guy get hung up every once in a while, or you get something that just wasn't fun to use. Like I said, they would resist the harnesses. You find them the harnesses hanging, and the guy working without anything.
We have to make fall protection as easy to use as possible, user-friendly, and it's not so cumbersome on them.
One of the things we did was, David helped us with, is retractable lanyards, which made it easier so you didn't have a big looping cable. You could have up to 6 feet. So they weren't dragging that cable on top of a roof, catching on a vent pipe or catching on an obstruction. where these retractables, you know, they're pulled up all the time and they're out of the way. And being an effortless pull just took away a lot of the resistance we had from before.
So I'm able to usually design the system to the number of people they need to utilize. That means you do different size tracks, you do different size suspension structure still in that case. Some companies don't do a lot of internal engineering and so forth like we do, so they strictly sell book stuff, and if it says 2 people for this, that's what they do.
David did some work to make sure the building was structurally sound to hold the extra weight, and all that was resolved.
Honestly, the system went up so fast, I couldn't even believe how fast it went up. It was a really quick, efficient process. Once everything, all the material came in, I mean, it was a very quick process of taking the old stuff down and putting the new stuff up. And as you were putting it up in sections and the employees were starting to get to use it, they loved it. The other companies that we did have in here weren't able to work within our production needs. So there would have been a huge loss of money because they wanted us to actually shut down. So they wanted to be in here. Also, they weren't able to accommodate what we needed. They weren't able to look at it from an overall engineering aspect to put the number of people that we needed on the roof. Most of the systems that came in and were quoted to us couldn't have more than 2 people on the roof. And that's not that's not feasible for us. We have to have more than 2 people on the roof.
David got his team in here and it didn't bother us. It's all done. It's great. It works wonderful. We've been inspected, you know, the OSHA people are fine, our safety corps came in, they're fine, and even the workers are less disagreeable to put safety harnesses on. It took away irritations and guys not wanting to get clipped up, not wanting to get up on the roof, because, you know, if we see a guy, we immediately ground him. You know, we have to. With this way, it is effortless, it is comfortable, so that has been terrific, way better than we ever thought. Okay, we were thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be better, but gee whiz, you know, we're still gonna get that same gripe. You know, I hate wearing this harness. You know, when I go to pull, it jerks me back or does whatever. We've had none of that. And that's been terrific for us. I got what fit us, which was don't interrupt my manufacturing, don't interrupt wages and our profit structure because we're expected to make money. You know, my long association with Florida Handling and Mazzelli is I knew that David could, he'd figure out a way to work around me, and he did.